Afternoon. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners monthly monthly elected officials meeting. It is 12:03 p.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. See Commissioner Edwards and Vice Chair and Commissioner Carolina Mejia, as well as a good number of our elected officials: coroner, prosecutor representative, our auditor, presiding judge, treasurer, assessor, clerk. So we have a good lineup today, and it's just an open forum. I know there's a lot of topics milling around, so there's plenty of things we could talk about. County manager, do you want me to just go? Was the idea that I would just go around kind of office by office?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well then I'll just go in the order of my screen. Coroner, Gary Warnock.
Good afternoon, everybody. I really have nothing to share at this point.
Okay. Anybody want to ask the coroner a question? All right.
Joining the conference.
Next, I've
Can I
yeah, go ahead.
Coroner Warnock, how are we seeing the suicide rates this year? Has there been a difference from last year? I know those tend to be a little bit more expensive for the county, so I was just wondering on that.
It's not as problematic as it was beginning of last year. I know we just had two back-to-back this last week. As far as the total number, I can get that to you. I can email it and share it with the others as well, but I don't know it offhand.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got Christy Peters from the Prosecuting Attorney's Office.
Hi, I'm a placeholder for John today. He's in a homicide trial, and so I'm actually here just to answer questions if anyone has any about our office or to get any additional information that's happening.
Okay, any questions for prosecutor? All right, talkative group today. Judge Price.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll start with what Christy just referenced, the homicide trial that Prosecutor Thunheim is involved in. Happy to say that's in the offsite space. It's been in the offsite space from the beginning at Chandler Court. And, you know, there's been a couple of little hiccups because it's a space that, you know, wasn't originally designed to be a courthouse, but I think it's actually going very well from what I understand. I don't know how the lawyers are taking it, but I know in talking with Judge Dixon, who's presiding over that trial, that it's going about as well as it could, and we're happy to be using that. We also have another very serious trial that's currently involved in jury selection here in the main campus. So we've got 2 jury trials going, and that's the max we can do with social distancing. We're been in touch with community or public health, you know, about when perhaps we can change the 6-foot distance, which would be a really meaningful change for us in terms of being able to expand our jury trial ability. But that doesn't seem like it's going to happen necessarily soon. The other news item, and I know some of the commissioners know this, but we're very happy that the governor signed House Bill 1167 last Friday, which provides us a 9th judge. Very excited about that, and excited that it got through the legislature with the really important help from Representatives Bateman and Dolan, and some of the other representatives were very supportive as well. And I think, and I just want to say again to the commission, thank you so much for your role in helping that along. It was really important to get the support from the county before we went to the legislature, which is a little different than it was in past years, but really appreciate the commission being very responsive to the need for that. I've mentioned before, the challenge is going to be where do we put the 9th person? And you know, it's a nice problem to have, but it's still a problem, and we're figuring that out over the next few months. We would expect the 9th judge to start in November. So it'll be an appointment at that point, and then that person would have to stand for election in 2022. So that's all I have.
Question on Judge Price's report? Nope. So, Judge, I know back when we were, is there an additional legislative step that the Board of County Commissioners would have to take to basically just budgeting, I guess, for the salary of the ninth judge, or is there additional legal thing that has to happen after the legislature's action?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We've been so focused on the passage itself and the support in the hearings for that, and also maybe being a little complacent because we had a matter of months. Perhaps Robin or Romero knows the answer to that question, or Pam, who's of course our administrator, not on this call. But I don't know how to answer that question at this point.
Okay, very good. Okay, I got the treasurer next, Jeff Gadden.
Good afternoon, everybody. So not a whole lot to report other than we did a collections to date check the other day. And it actually looks like tax collections are about 2% ahead of where they were the same date last year. That was as of the 19th, so Monday. Don't know what that means for the rest of the month, but collections have been coming in pretty steady. We have had we've had quite a significant number of people that have bypassed the kiosk in the lobby though, and are just walking into the office. We've been just logging them in as they walk in, but they're just not wanting to stop and check in.
That's an interesting point, Jeff. Are any of the other offices that are downstairs struggling with that as well? Auditor Hall or Assessor Drew?
Oh, I can say for my office, we're not yet using the kiosk. We will utilize it during the reval period when we have a high influx of counter visitors. And when we get into senior renewals and changes, which may come from the legislature, there's a bill pending still, then we may utilize the kiosk, but we're presently watching and learning.
Mary, did you have any input on that? Your counter always seems super busy.
Yeah, people are using it most of the time. But one of the things I witnessed yesterday when I was in there, it's set so close to the doors. I'm just wondering if we moved it further in. There were only like 3 people waiting for the kiosk, but the line seemed very long, longer than it really was. And I watched a woman get really frustrated and, used some words and turned around and walked out. So just a thought, I could talk to Jared and have him reach out to somebody, but I like having it. We like having it.
Go ahead, Rob.
I can look into the placement and see if there's a better place to put it. We think that moving it farther away from the door, though, will just encourage people to walk past it. They won't see it when they walk in, but we'll take a look at that.
So you could still use stanchions, just get more of them, and maybe make them in a V so people could be spaced out a little more too, because they almost need to be out the door if you want 6 feet. Just a thought.
Jeff, is that it?
Yeah, I really like the kiosk and the check-in system. And I say a significant number of people, probably about anywhere from 20 to 25% of the people visiting my office, if it's busy. And I think it's more a function of they don't want to wait to do the check-in. When it's not real busy in the lobby, they're very consistently checking in, and I really like the system.
Okay, Assessor is up. Steve.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, let's see. It's been an interesting and positive legislative session. We've defended against some bills that would have kind of set our office on its head administratively. We're successful in getting reimbursement language in a sort of LID-like bill, this tax incremental financing bill. That will be somewhat of an experiment for us, never having had cost recovery for administrative costs before. but talked to a couple of the cities and they understand that need. So I don't foresee any, acrimony in administering both the program and the cost recovery. We got the continuity of operations bill passed both chambers onto the governor. That includes codifying the definition of physical inspection to include use of aerial pictometry. So the new package that we purchased is now in law as a method of physical inspection, not a replacement, but a component of that. And that's very beneficial to both COVID interaction, but we're experiencing a continuance of this really random hostility from homeowners. So we did like we've never seen before since November, and sometimes involving firearms and threat of harm. So the degree to which we can reduce the need to walk the property by using the technology is a great hedge against what has become a more threatening work environment for my field staff. And then, so that's all good. There's a bill that's expands the senior exemption a little bit, just expanding the list of medical expenses that can be deducted, and that's important for seniors. It's what differentiates one senior from another is the medical expenses. And that has yet to pass. It had a lousy amendment put on it. The House did not concur. It's in the dispute calendar, should pass shortly. And then closer to home, we're very much wanting to communicate with confidence and get our mind around the new office space and its adequacy. And yet we're having difficulty getting a 2-scale drawing. We were provided reduced photocopies of the 2-scale drawing, but that is useless. We need the actual drawing that is 1/16 to 1 inch. We've asked for it. It is not being provided. And I cannot then sketch in a lobby and have dialogue between the 3 general government offices on the adequacy of space. So we're growing frustrated over that and would appreciate commissioners' help in getting those drawings released expeditiously, a couple copies so that Mary, Jeff, and I each have one, because my staff is ready to creatively sketch space utilization, priorities being security for our staff and customer service, and then space utilization. And so, some of you have asked, what do you think of the new building? It's a fine building. Whether the space that's allocated for the 3 of us is adequate is a question that's pretty darn important, because we can't move the exterior walls and we can't answer it without the drawing and some time to work with it. So would appreciate help there. Thank you.
Okay, questions for Assessor? Nope. Okay, I got Linda, County Clerk.
Hi, I don't have anything major to add, except to say that we had an upgrade to our case management system over last weekend, and we're working through issues with the state. We have one kind of a major issue that affects our e-filing, so we're having to do a lot of manual work. So other than that, things are going fine here. Thank you. Nice to see everybody.
Thank you, Linda. Mary Hall, County Auditor.
I actually want to echo what Steve said. I also would love to have those drawings. I'm getting a lot of questions from staff who want to just look at it and, put little desks on there and play around with where things could potentially go. And I know we'll be doing a space study soon, but it would be nice to have those drawings. And I would actually like more than one copy so I can, have one there in each department. So, and I know we'll get into the nitty gritty, but I'd like to flip IT and HR. So HR is next to FS, Financial Services. And I know that that's a request from Maria as well, but that's kind of getting ahead of things, I think. We always seem to have lots going on. Elections is in the process of moving to Building 5. They'll be in by the end of the month. The office in Building 1, we can't have more than 2 people in there. So we've got candidate filing week coming up. So that's going to be a temporary move, but I think we'll be sending out an email to, countywide, because you may have some, folks coming into your office wondering where we are, but we're working on signage and trying to get as much good signage up there and, messaging in the media and Facebook, et cetera, so people can find us. We don't really have a lot of walk-in traffic anymore because of online voter registration. But some candidates like to file in person. So we'll try to nip that in the bud. We have a candidate workshop tomorrow night. We'll bring that up as well. Recording is seeing record business. I mean, we thought last year was a record year. We're ahead of last year. So, the housing market is really hot. I mean, I think a lot of people, refinanced, and that was what we saw a lot of last year. But this year, I think it's a combination of refinancing and just a really hot housing market. So that's really good for revenue. We're ahead of revenue right now. We applied for a community project grant to use for some improvements at the ballot processing center. Hopefully that deal goes through. If it doesn't, we'll pull it. But I sent out, we're getting community leaders to sign on to our letter to Congresswoman Strickland. And I know Romero, I sent that to Romero today. And I would love to have each of the commissioners sign on to that. Also getting legislators and, Chamber of Commerce and all kinds of community partners signing on to this bill or this letter in hopes that it'll, strengthen our ask. So we're hoping to get that off to the Congresswoman by the end of the month. And that's really all I have.
Okay, questions from Mary? Okay, I think that's the lineup of offices. I'll go to Commissioner Mejia to give any report.
I really don't have anything to report today. I think I've been meeting with each of the electeds individually, so I always appreciate the time you take. Thank you for that.
Commissioner Edwards?
Well, I'm in the same boat Commissioner Mejia is in. I appreciate the information, but really nothing to add unless anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Nero?
No, I don't have any questions, sir. Unless you have any particular questions of me.
I don't think so. We don't have our usual potluck or chomping time to fill the hour. Everybody's a little quiet today. I don't know that. Yeah, go ahead, Coroner.
This is for Commissioner Mejia. So for the suicides this year, we're at 13. We had 2 in January, 3 in February, 6 in March, and then we just had 2 in April, which was last week. So 13 for the year, and this time last year we were at 25.
Thank you. Good to know. I know there's some suicide prevention workshops going on with Shelley Willis's group. She sent an email around to kind of let us know what's going on with those, and if the county can help support additional trainings. There's been apparently a lot of interest in it. But it's good to hear that the numbers aren't.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess I don't really have much either. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of you have reached out to me individually on various topics. So keep doing that. Feel free to do that. We work through different things. I can barely. It's funny when people. It's not just the elected officials, but also groups in the community. When something comes up, I'm hearing more and more. Well, why didn't you pick up the phone and call me and ask me about that? And it just. That suggestion just always makes my head shake. It's like, I don't I don't know where that all those other conversations that would fit, but so it's kind of a reactive thing. There's so many things we're reacting to that it's hard to think about proactively going out and getting out in front of things. It's certainly a good thing to do and think about, but don't hesitate to reach out if you feel that a conversation needs to happen. So, well, I guess we just give everyone the gift of time. If there's no other, yeah, thank you.
Could we get an update on what's happening with the atrium? Where we're at in the process, how's it going? And then also the Montman property?
Yeah, I can provide that. The next steps, as the board, the majority of the board provide direction to continue on this process, Robin and I will have a meeting with the owner of the atrium this coming Monday. And at that time, we really need to have an understanding as to what we need to do next in the next few months. And it's going to be, the result of that may be a memorandum of understanding that will be short before a formal lease will be in place. But we need to understand from the property owner's perspective and from the county's perspective, what type of architectural services are we going to be able to be available to you all to start designing, helping design the space. I think as soon as we have an understanding of that, I will convene a meeting to all affected offices and departments. They will be planned to be part of the atrium to just have an understanding as to a high level as to how we're going to be approaching the move. My intent is not to get into your business to how the flow should be in terms of your offices and departments. My goal is to how holistically we're going to make this move successful, and I will continue to maintain that objective. Parallel to that, I'm going to be working with Robin to submit to the board an AIS to request the services of an architect. They will start working on the courthouse campus as part of that plan. And that is going to be obviously services to all of you. That includes two main elements, at least from what I'm saying right now. What type of improvements do we need to do to the buildings, HVAC and all that sort of improvements, as well as how we're going to be giving you some help to start doing some tenant improvements here at the courthouse to accommodate that move. So those are the two parallel tracks that I can offer at this point. But again, the next milestone is to meet with the owner this coming Tuesday to just have coming Monday, I'm sorry, to have an understanding as to the next steps. And I will keep you informed as to what that is.
Steve.
Thank you. Since the decision makers are on this call, can we get a commitment to have a 2-scale drawing provided to the general government offices this week, please?
We don't have a 2-scale drawing to share with you.
The architect does. He photocopied it and shrunk it.
Well, that's the owner's architect.
Look, they want to rent the building to you. Can you get the drawing and get it to us so we can
you give us
analyze the space?
Can you give us time until we have a meeting with the owner on Monday?
Okay. In advance of that meeting, maybe you could ask the owner to provide it. Look, at some point, and what I'm trying to avoid is to have it not be too late. At some point, we're going to have to figure out if general government and the common lobby can be accommodated in the part of the building that's being proposed. So I'm trying to help to answer that question up front. And I can't do it without a 2-scale drawing. So I'd appreciate help as soon as possible on getting that to us. And then my second thing I want to express is that it was said before that there would not be construction going on in this building and building 1 until we have vacated. And I want reassurance that that's not going to occur, that we're not going to have construction until we're out of the space.
Logistically, that will not be possible. Logistically, we cannot begin construction in building 1 before we vacate. So that's going to be pivotal for the occupants of building 1 to move out so we can start tenant improvements in building 1. So, yeah, with all due respect, I don't know where you got that information. We're going to start construction prior to us moving out.
Oh, as a comment you just made, Romero, that's what caused me to have concern.
No, what I stated is we're going to be securing the services of an architect to start working with the offices who remain on the courthouse campus to start designing the space.
Totally support that. Yeah.
And that's what I stated.
Okay, thank you.
Mary, did that cover your question about next steps?
You'd also like to know about Mottman.
Right.
Right. On Mottman, we made an offer that was accepted, but it is contingent on a feasibility study. We have hired the services of professionals to do the assessment, the environmental survey, and those have not begun yet. We've got money in escrow, and I think May 14th might be the closing date, either May or June. But we're waiting to hear about the assessment before we finalize the deal.
When you hear, could you let me know too? It's kind of one of those anxiety points for me. So I'd like to know what's happening. I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Any other items for the good of the order? Thanks everybody for being here.
All righty.
Thank you.
And Robin and Romero, Diana and I are trying to get some time that we can get together.